Good day to be indigenous.
Get up, stand up.
They are going to become more brutal.
Couldn't cut, hitting cut again.
Because all the hippies were trying to be Indians anyway.
They're going to become more repressive because it's a matter of dollars and their illusionary concepts of power.
Hey, Victor.
We must live in balance with the earth.
And also with recent happenings at Wounded Knee.
I am awake.
Welcome to Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake, and I'm your host, Okhódayapi.
Hey, Cathy, to all my friends and relatives in four directions. You are listening to Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake, and I'm your host, Robert Pilot. Hey, we discuss local, national, Native news and events, and as you know, Chujunk, Native issues are human issues, and human issues are Native issues.
Yes, you are right, Dega. This portion of the show is supported by Native Concrete and Masonry. Check out their work at nativeconcretemasonry.com and give Chuck a call at 612-597-0421.
Hey, let me just give a quick shout-out, too, before we get to our guests. We are here at the Minnesota State Fair at the West End Market, and tomorrow Haley will be joining me, and we're at the Native Roots Trading Post doing a brisk business here, all except for the rain, but we are so happy to see Robert Lilligren. Welcome, as always, Robert.
Yeah, bonjour, Robert. Bonjour, Haley. It's great to be here. I always appreciate having me on. And I wasn't quite sure where you were, Robert. I know you get around. You're at the Democratic National Convention. Now you're at the Minnesota State Fair. You're just a well-traveled guy.
Well, you know what Governor Walz said last night, you know, we're not going to rest until we're dead. So I guess that's what I'm doing, and it's great to talk to you, and let's talk a little bit about what happened. I was there Monday and Tuesday, cool. And last night I was crying most of the night, so really.
Same here, and just you could tell the convention hall was just full of emotion. The speeches were beautiful and heartfelt, from the super celebrities like Oprah to Waltz and then his family. It was just really special, and you can just feel the energy even through the TV. I'm watching it on TV, but I remember I was at the Democratic National Convention in 2008 in Denver when then Senator Obama got the Democratic nomination, and it, from what I can see on TV, it looks like there's that feeling in the hall there where you know you're making history, you know you're doing something special. I can't wait to hear Kamala Harris's speech tonight.
Yeah, absolutely. And what was exciting, too, was the other 2 days and all the speakers, you know, Robert F. Kennedy, or John F. Kennedy's grandson, Jimmy Carter's grandson. I mean, I love history, Robert, and it was just really fun and amazing to see those speakers and then be around all that energy.
Right. I'm sure. I can't wait to hear more about it. And I remember even in 2008, which is now 16 years ago, which kind of blows my mind. But, at the convention, 16 years ago, I would have been, 40-something, 44 or something like that. So I was kind of in the generational bridge, right? But there were party elders there that were very aware that there was a new electorate and that the role of party people was to how to hand this over, right, in a respectful, responsible way to the new electorate. And people were very deliberate about that. And then after a couple of terms of President Obama, that kind of submerged for a minute there, right? But that new electorate is roaring back, and I can't wait to see what happens this November.
Yeah, absolutely. Just amazing. The vibe was cool. And Peggy Flanagan, our lieutenant governor, was on the podium introducing people. I got a selfie with her. I saw Tom, saw all these people. And then last night, the Minnesota delegation wouldn't leave. Did you see that?
Oh, no, I didn't. They wouldn't leave the auditorium?
Chanting as I'm watching MSNBC, they had them on, and they were cheering for a good 45 minutes to an hour after the whole convention was over.
I love it. Yeah, the Minnesota delegation can be fired up, right? I remember, again, my one experience at a national convention, and we had the most diverse delegation of any state diverse racially, diverse gender, and diverse by age. We had the youngest delegate in the convention, and we'd come in and, it was just out of control loud. We had R.T. Ryback, our then mayor, as one of our chairs, and he's such a great sort of cheerleader, rabble-rouser, and people would be like, this is Minnesota? This is the Minnesota delegation? And we're like, damn right, this is Minnesota.
Yeah, exactly. It was. And I saw our mayor of St. Paul leading the cheers, so I know what you're saying. And we had Obama and her husband on, and amazing.
Those speakers. Obama speeches were fire. I mean, that was amazing, especially Michelle Obama. And I had a political friend over, and we were watching the convention. And just when Michelle was introduced, and just the way she walked out, and I said to my friend, I said, she is gonna throw down, and she sure did. That was probably the best speech of hers I've ever seen.
Yeah, I totally agree. It was crazy, totally crazy, and I just seeing all these superstars too. I got, I'm the old selfie king back in the day, Robert, and seeing all these, I was kind of lurking around and jumping out there and getting selfies with all these people that really mean a lot to democracy and ourselves.
Sure. Oh, so cool. So cool. And then I also know, we see what we see on TV, sort of prime time or it runs over. But when you're there, there's so much more going on, both within on the convention floor and then in caucus meetings and trainings and networking and events. It's a very rich experience.
Wow. Yeah, I'm just really proud to be a Democrat and being out there. There's some protesting going on, but, I love talking about my maturity as a voter. I'm not a one-person voter. I mean, one subject. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you can't be. And I mean, if we had a parliamentary multi-party system, proportional representation, that might mean a bit of a different thing. But in our two-party system, our fundamentally two-party system, you kind of have to pick. And I really appreciated Michelle Obama's statement about, we can't be Goldilocks voters, right? We can't wait till everything's just right. We got to get out and vote. And
absolutely.
That's really good guidance.
Yeah, well, you've been around for a while and you've been to these conventions.
I know I'm old, Robert. You don't have to remind me.
I didn't say you've been around a long, long, long time. No, but you've been around, and this is, like you said, a replay of 2008, and it's really exciting that we can get our young ones involved, because really some of our young voters have never seen anything other than Trump and that mess. And
right.
We got to go back to civility and also be positive and happy, like what's happening now with the Democrats.
Right. And that is so true. And even early on in Harris's presidential campaign, the word joy kept surfacing, and it's like, yeah, I'll take joy. I could use a little joy these days. And what's wrong with that, right? We can be happy, right? We have to give ourselves permission almost. It's been so grim for the last years between the Trump presidency and then the COVID and, the situations in Israel and Gaza. I'm ready to find something to be happy about, and I'm very happy. And, now as we're looking at polls, there's momentum, right, on the Harris side, and that's going to keep growing with the focus on the DNC, and then there's always that lift right afterward. But when you get into the polls, there's very encouraging news there. And for example, in Arizona, Harris is now up 25 with Hispanic Latino voters. And so those are there's some kind of bellwether demographics within the polling are really indicating positive things.
Hey, we're here with Robert Lilligren. Let's take a quick break and talk some more. We also have Governor Evers coming up too, so maybe we'll take a quick listen to him and get back with our friend Robert. Hey, this is Native Roots Radio live at the fair. Come see us. Oh, wow.
We are your relatives.
We are your relations.
Brothers,
sisters,
sons,
daughters.
And some of us are your grandchildren.
We are your community. Historically, we held places of honor and respect. Because of the impact of colonization, some of us are rejected, thrown out from family, friends, and community, set up as targets for sexual violence, sex trafficked, humiliated, tortured, and murdered. Everybody has the right to be safe. We are your relatives. Remember,
homophobia is not traditional.
Sponsored by the Minnesota Indian Women's Sexual Assault Coalition.
It's back to school time, which means getting back to school ready. One important thing to add to your to-do list this year is making sure your child is up to date on their vaccinations. Getting vaccinated will help your family avoid missing out on school, activities, work, family events, and vacation. Keep your family healthy by talking with your healthcare provider or visiting our free vaccination clinics in Minneapolis. Visit the City of Minneapolis website and search for vaccine clinics. A message from the Minneapolis Health Department.
Discover the emotional depth and vivid storytelling of Jay White's Arikara Proper at All My Relations Arts in Minneapolis. This solo exhibition celebrates Arikara culture through the lens of an urban Indian perspective. Experience themes of empowerment, depictions of Native women, stars, and star quilts within White's vibrant acrylic paintings. Arikara Proper is showing now through October 5th at All My Relations Arts in Minneapolis. Get inspired by Jay White's powerful storytelling on canvas. Details at allmyrelationsarts.org.
J&S Bean Factory is a Native-owned, community-supported, cozy, artsy coffee shop which offers roasted on-site beans, live music, and baked goods. Relax in the beautiful outside patio. City Pages writes, voted top 10 coffee shops. Tucked into a quiet corner of St. Paul's Highland Park neighborhood, this coffee shop roasts beans on-site from the best coffee-growing countries in the world. Located at 1518 Randolph Avenue, St. Paul. The good stuff.
Hi, this is Representative Sharice Davids from Kansas. I'm Ho Chunk, and you're listening to Native Roots Radio.
And we're back to Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake, and this is Robert Pilot.
This portion of the show is supported by Native American Community Development Institute, or NACDI, in Minneapolis.
Hey, welcome back. I am with Robert Lilligren. And Robert, let's take a quick listen to our friend Governor Evers, and then maybe comment on that. But I also we have more to talk about with the DNC and what's going on. So let's take a quick listen.
Hey there, Native Roots Radio. Governor Tony Evers here with my weekly update. Having access to high-speed, affordable internet is critical to nearly everything we do these days, from accessing health care to going to school and working remotely to connecting with loved ones and friends. We're proud that no administration in the state history has done more to expand access to high-speed internet than we have. Since 2019, we've allocated more than $340 million in state and federal funds to expand high-speed internet, including the largest state investment in state history to help more than 410,000 homes and businesses have new or improved service. We're going to keep working to close that digital divide, and my task force on broadband access recently released their 2024 report with recommendations of how to do just that. We need continued state investment to ensure high-speed, long-term, reliable internet service for all. In my last budget, I proposed the largest state investment in broadband ever in our history, with a $750 million investment. Unfortunately, the Republican majority on the Joint Finance Committee threw that out the door and provided zero new funding for broadband expansion. The task force recommends we get to work to expand workforce training, improve permitting and locating processes, and improve coordination with tribal nations and local communities to prepare for an efficient, transparent, and successful rollout of federal broadband investments. With this roadmap ahead of us, we're going to continue working to expand access to affordable high-speed internet, ensuring every Wisconsinite has the 21st century infrastructure they need and deserve. Thank you. Back to you, Robert, and Native Roots Radio.
Wow, great check-in. A lot there to unravel, but we really appreciate our friend from Wisconsin talking about those very needs that we have here in Minnesota that we've been tackling with the broadband also, Robert.
Here. Yeah, it's great to hear Wisconsin is so fortunate to have a Governor Evers. It would be a nightmare to think of what would be going on there without him. And then at the convention, he was kind of charming when he flubbed his little speech when they were allocating their delegates for passing their votes. He had a little stumble there. It was very charming.
You know, it was also, I don't always watch MSNBC in the morning, but it was really funny. They did the difference between the Republican countdown and the Democrats, and it was just like, oh my goodness, this is really says it all.
Right. Yeah, no, you can tell they're just, that party is having a hard time pivoting, right? And so it's, you know, I don't like to find pleasure in people's discomfort, but you know, I'll take it. And you know, it's like, keep it up. We only have 75 days.
Yeah.
And the longer it takes them to find their footing, the better for Democrats. And I just, you know, it's not magical, right? This is work. It's going to take money. It's going to take boots on the ground. It's going to take volunteers. But if we can keep this momentum going for the next 75 days, I'm so hopeful. And I have a hunch that Harris at the top of the ticket could pull up a lot of down ballot Democrats. And I think unexpected things can happen. We're kind of in new territory, right? And I'm really hopeful if we do the work, right?
The kind of thing I was talking about too is just how solemn they were, and then we got like DJs doing the countdown. It was just like amazing that they were like, okay, it's a woman up there was saying, okay, the vote for Washington, 200 delegates. And then you watch the Democrats and like they're having a disco party before they give their votes. So it was just fun to see the contrast of the votes.
Well, at first I thought the whole DJ setup was a little corny, but then it was so compelling, right? The whole convention, I will say that. I wasn't really planning on watching the whole convention on TV, but it has been really compelling. And so I'm there till the bitter end every night.
What I didn't know, if I could jump in quickly, is that a lot of the songs for each state, the state chose a song or an artist that came from that state. And I know Prince a song by Prince was chosen to represent Minnesota. So that was really cool.
Yeah, cool. And Haley, what was the DJ's name? Do you remember?
I'm not sure. Okay. I can't remember off the top of my head.
I read that he worked for weeks with each delegation to select those songs. And so it was very interactive and it showed, right? People were very proud of their states.
Did you hear Governor Walz's exit song was by Neil Young, and Neil Young sued Trump for using his music, and they asked Neil Young, and he said, by all means. So again, big contrast here.
Agree. And so, anxious to see what's happening tonight. I got to get one of my friends that are there to bring me one of those big Tim Waltz faces.
Yeah.
I want one of those. I remember coming back from Denver in 2008 with some of the best belaying. You know, I really want one of those.
Well, I got the vote one.
Nice.
So at first I was too cool. It's like, don't give me this thing. And then all of a sudden, of course, I'm going crazy with the vote sign. And then I brought it home and drove it home with me. And now it's in the window.
Love it. Well, that's part of the role of the delegates, right? And people that are in the hall. You're part of the show of it, right? You're those ever-shifting signs, ever-shifting messages, you know. And I remember it was a lot of work. You had to be kind of on top of it. Signs were handed out. In conjunction with what the speaker was going to be talking about. It's very well orchestrated.
Yeah, they did an awesome job, and tonight's going to be no different. That's going to be pretty exciting about. I am so impressed and so happy. I didn't realize I could be this happy about
politics.
What's happening here.
Yes, nice, and it's just thrilling as a Minnesotan, of course, to have our governor up there on the ticket, up there on the stage, and people are just loving him, which I think is really cool. And it's probably hard not to love him, right? He's a very lovable guy. And so, did I just share this with you, Robert? When I was up on the North Shore of Lake Superior, when Biden stepped down and Harris stepped in, And it was just like this joyous kind of rush. All respect to Biden. He saved democracy twice, right? And so, and I knew instantly and with every fiber of my being that Walz was going to be the running mate. I just knew it. It just made so much sense for a number of reasons. And all my political friends were like, oh, no, he's from a blue state with only 10 electoral votes. And I'm like, no, it's going to be Walz. It's going to be Walz. Look at his progressive agenda. I could see people looking at Harris and Walz and saying, yeah, this is a good team. And even as they were shortening the list and Walz's name was generally left off the list, I'm like, no, it's going to be him. I know it's going to be him. So it's just thrilling to watch this play out.
Well, I was totally dumbfounded, and then I went to Eau Claire. Haley and I went to Eau Claire and saw the first day there was over 14. Well, I think they said 12,000 because Haley, exaggerate. So I think they said there was 12,000 people there, and it was an overflow. They only expected 8,000. I went, oh my God, everyone's a believer. This is awesome.
Yep. You're kind of like Trump there, exaggerating those crowd size numbers.
Easy. Not like it.
Yeah, so I got to go back to the Barack Obama speech, President Obama, when he made the crowd size reference. He made a kind of a vulgar hand gesture, which I thought was hilarious.
You definitely little crowds, yes. The crowd went crazy, and then also the crowd really went crazy when the former First Lady Obama talked about that he wants a African American job or a black job.
Oh, right.
Everyone went crazy.
Right.
My head snapped when she said that. I went, what?
I howled. I couldn't believe it. Like I said, I had a friend over. We were just laughing, and and Trump made that hideous kind of racist comment about illegal, migrants are taking black jobs. It's like, to a black audience, right?
Yeah.
And, when I read that, I'm like, excuse me? I'm sure they were like, excuse me? What's that? What's a black job? I suppose he's meaning low paying, low skill, whatever, But yeah, it's just.
I really liked Michelle too when she really, kind of said about how her family would attacked and don't attack the Vice President Harris's family like that. And so right. I really liked that theme that she had too.
I agree. And few people could speak with such authenticity on that, right? I mean, they threw every kind of muck personal attack at the Obamas when they were in the White House. And those guys were classy, man. They rose above it.
Yeah, they definitely
did. Credit for that. And I really loved how Michelle crafted her remarks as tribute to her mother, who just passed.
Yeah.
So that was really touching.
Yeah.
It's hard to see the other side expressing that kind of authentic emotion and love for each other, and so it just adds to this feeling of joy.
Robert, thanks for stopping in, and then we're excited that our lieutenant governor will be governor, and I can say I know the governor. Oh, wow.
Right, and the vice president.
That's right. We'll be right back after the short break. Stay with us. Oh, wow.
You're listening to Native Roots Radio. This is Spirit from Reservation Dogs. Get up and listen.
Welcome back to Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake, and this is Robert Pilot.
This portion of the show is supported by native-owned J.S. Bean Factory off Randolph Avenue in St. Paul. Only the good stuff keeps us awake. You're muted, Robert.
Dude, I was kind of turning this into a ventriloquist show here.
Yeah.
But I said a lot of really good things about you, Sage, and I'm going to say it again here. The audience out here that's listening to me can vouch for me. But, hey, we have Sage Yeager here who's working with formerly the Friends of the Falls, and you're the outreach and communication assistant. Could you help me with this Lakota Dakota words? And welcome. Oh, wow.
Thank you. Yeah. So I work with Owámniyomni, Okhódayapi, which is, for those that don't know, a nonprofit, Dakota-led nonprofit based in Minneapolis. And we're working to create a future where Dakota values are have a vital presence, and Dakota culture is embedded into the communal existence of Minnesotans. So that was a lot of words I threw at you, but...
That's good. We like words on the radio because, like, shadow puppets and things like that don't work as well. And
Right.
so, but that's good, Sage. Tell us a little bit of the history so our listeners know what we're talking about, because it's really got a long history, but also a good recent history.
Yeah, so the site that we're dealing with, what our work kind of revolves around, is 5 acres of land that sit adjacent to Owámniyomni, also known as St. Anthony Falls, which has a very long history. It's a historic, or a culturally significant and spiritually significant place to Dakota people, has been since time immemorial. And yeah, so it has kind of been forgotten as a Dakota site for a really long time. It was kind of erased by the Mill City history, and that's what you see when you go down there is that industrialization and that history, that side of things, and you don't see anything about it being a sacred place to Dakota people. And so that's what our organization does, is kind of coming in there and making sure people know that this is Dakota land.
Yeah, absolutely. And then what's the process, too, in the history? Are you leasing the land, or are we going land back and putting a fence around there and having Lakota Dakota land? Oh, wow.
Yeah. So we just recently, earlier this summer, I think in June, announced that we have signed a lease with the Army Corps of Engineers. It's a 25-year lease that allows us site control. And it is kind of an interim step where we're looking to get the land conveyed, and have been in that process with the Army Corps, the city of Minneapolis, and a few other agencies for years now. And it feels like as soon as we jump through 10 hoops, they add 10 more. And so the process has just gotten longer and longer. And this lease is a way for us to really expand our programming on site in that interim, to be present and to have people know that, we're going to be coming back to Minneapolis and to this site specifically.
Yeah, it's funny. Years ago when I was a high school teacher, I was saying, someday we're going to get our land back, so you need to get ready. And I said, well, you're not ready. Let's get back. But I feel the momentum of you young ones, and Shelley Buck and Barry Hand, and the people that are involved in this really great endeavor. So talk about what the process is and what it's going to look like, whether there's engineering coming in, or tell us a little bit about that, please.
Yeah, so we're really excited. Earlier in the summer, we announced the selection of our design consultant team, which the leaders of that are Dakota Knowledge Keepers. We've got a really great group of Dakota leaders, knowledge keepers who have a vast knowledge in Dakota culture, from Dakota lifeways, language, to, our plant and animal relatives. And they're really the leaders of our design consultant team. They come together, they form a consensus, and that kind of ripples out to the rest of the design team, which includes GGN, who is our design and landscaping architecture firm that we're going through. We worked with them in the first season of our work, and so we're happy to have them back on board. And then also Full Circle Indigenous Planning is on as our project strategy and tribal engagement partners. So we've really got the dream team. We're excited.
Wow, you really do. And talk about some events that are going to come up that we can support, come to, and maybe do a round dance at. Oh, wow.
Yeah. So as part of that program lease, like I said, we've been expanding our on-site programming. So Barry Hand, as you mentioned, our program director, is leading public tours. We do one a month throughout the summer. And then we also do private groups for bigger bigger groups. So if like schools, other organizations want to bring your nonprofit down, we can arrange private tours for that. And we've been working with Renew Earth Running to do Run with Respects. So we'll be hosting our second one coming up September 22nd. which is really just a time for anybody who, and you don't have to be a runner, you can jog, you can walk, you can just come hang out, enjoy some coffee in the morning. And yeah, you just explore the site, learn a bit more about the history and the land that you use.
Muted, Robert.
I know if there's free T-shirts, I'll be there. Oh, wow.
Yes,
Yeah.
we do have free T-shirts.
Right on. Haley, do you have any questions? It's just really an exciting. I'm here, Sage, live at the fair, Minnesota State Fair, and really enjoy having you on. And I wonder, Haley, do you have any questions?
I do. I think just from being, hanging around the urban Native community in Minneapolis and having some Lakota friends and hearing a little bit about these sites, are one of them kind of like the island sites that we're talking about? It was like a traditional birthing place, right, for our women?
Yeah, correct. So that is Spirit Island, also known as Witawanahi. And yeah, traditionally it was a place that Dakota women would come to give birth. Out on the island, you would have kind of that off-shooting mist from the falls, which I imagine was really relaxing. I've never had that experience, so I couldn't say. But
yeah, that's really cool. And yeah, I think a lot of people don't know that. And I think once people do learn the history, it will be honored as such a sacred site.
For sure. And I think that it specifically, Spirit Island is one of the most jarring things that has changed from the site. It's not really there anymore physically. It's definitely there spiritually, but they mined it for the limestone. And so, there's just a little stone jetty. That's all that's left of it. And so that's part of our design process is coming up with a way that we can honor it and let people know that it was there and what it was for.
Wow, that's exciting, and now I get what you're saying with design. That's important, and I know Father Hennepin had a lot to do with that. I remember taking a class at the U and talking about how they could figure out how old ancient muskrat was because of all the constant moving of the falls. It moves so many inches every year, and so that was really interesting. But it's great that the Lakota Dakota people are getting this back, and that I don't know that I'm speechless at some of the great things that are happening here in our community, for our community, with our community, and because of our communities.
Yeah, definitely. It's really powerful to be a part of and to see all of the progress and the support that we've gotten. I come from Prairie Island, which is a little bit more rural of an area, and so I'm not used to seeing the amount of support that we've been getting from just the general public and neighbors. It's been really heartwarming and inspiring.
That's cool that you're Prairie Island, because us Ho-Chunks years ago I commingled with a lot of you guys before. I know they don't like to say that before the casinos, but we were very close, Ho-Chunks and Prairie Island. So you could be a relative of ours, Sage.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Do you, Sage, just a general question here. So being Prairie Island, and that's kind of like a community that runs along eastern Minnesota, along the St. Croix River, are there any stories or traditional knowledge that you can share with us kind of around that area of Minnesota?
Yeah, so we're actually on the Mississippi River, close to where the St. Croix and the Mississippi meet up, but our reservation currently sits on the Mississippi River. One really exciting thing that has been happening down there recently is we've gotten our wild rice beds back, which has been a really, really long process. For years, it wouldn't grow. The Army Corps actually flooded a decent amount of land down there by building that lock-in dam. And because of the way that the water moved, it just wasn't conducive to wild rice beds. And finally, after tons and tons of work from our community and our land and environment department, we finally were able to harvest rice for the first time last year. So it's very exciting.
Wow, that's awesome. So we're wrapping up this segment, and we'd love to have you on again, and my friend Barry, and really talk more and get deep into this. How can people see your progress? Is there a Facebook, a website? How can people get in touch with you and support you?
Yeah, so we're active on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, all of those. You can find us at Owámniyomni. And then for updates on our project, event information, you can find all of that at owámniyomni.org.
Well, Sage, you are one of the good ones, a young warrior here coming on and speaking your truth in a really good way. And I know our listeners really appreciate that. Big Peeny Gigi, thank you, Sage Yeager, for coming on and giving us this great update.
Yeah, Kadamina, for having me.
Right. And hey, this is Robert Pilot in Native Roots Radio at the fair. Haley, you'll be here soon, right? Please.
I hope so. Yeah, stay with us.
We'll be right back.
It's back to school time, which means getting back to school ready. One important thing to add to your to-do list this year is making sure your child is up to date on their vaccinations. Getting vaccinated will help your family avoid missing out on school, activities, work, family events, and vacation. Keep your family healthy by talking with your healthcare provider or visiting our free vaccination clinics in Minneapolis. Visit the City of Minneapolis website and search for vaccine clinics. A message from the Minneapolis Health Department.
Bonjour, hello. My name is Wabin. I am an enrolled member of the White Earth Nation, descendant of the Navajo Nation, and co-chair of the Indigenous Employee Resource Group with the Minnesota Department of Transportation. MnDOT is hiring for a variety of positions from road maintenance to accounting and more. We offer great benefits. For more information or to set up a one-on-one resume and application assistance, visit mn.gov/careers, or you can text or call 612-257-2388. 612-257-2388.
The City of Minneapolis is now on Native Roots Radio with Minneapolis AIR. AIR stands for American Indian Relations. Guest host Christine McDonald talks to people about important things affecting the city's Native communities. Minneapolis AIR dives into topics like public safety, public health, elections, and so much more. Tune in to Minneapolis AIR on Native Roots Radio from 5 to 6 p.m. on the second Wednesday of every month, right here on AM 950.
Hi, I'm Jane Fonda, and you're listening to Native Roots Radio.
And we're back to Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake, and this is Robert Pilot.
This portion of the show is supported by Howling for Wolves, protecting wolves for future generations.
Hey, welcome back to Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake, and I'm your host, Robert Pilot. Hey, I'm here with Cathy Coates, author to Banish Forever, A Secret Society, the Ho-Chunk and the Ethnic Cleansing in Minnesota. And here at the State Fair, we are selling her autograph books. Welcome, Cathy.
Hi, Robert. Good to see you.
Nice to be seen. Hey, tell us a little bit about this book. I know people come in, and once I give them just a little information on it when they're looking at the book, they tend to buy it. Let's talk a little bit about your book.
Sure. This book tells the story of a relatively unknown history in Minnesota and the Dakota War. And it's about ethnic cleansing that happened in Minnesota in 1862. It focuses on a secret society called the Knights of the Forest. And they targeted the Ho-Chunk people who were living on a reservation during the U.S.-Dakota War right outside Mankato. And they pressured the government to force removal of Ho-Chunk people, and they even sent armed men to surround the reservation and shoot any Ho-Chunk person who left the reservation during the winter of 1862 and 1863.
Well, how did you find out about this? Because I know it's kind of an obscure history. I know us Ho-Chunks know about it, and people maybe 45, 50 years and older know about the removal of Ho-Chunk. But how did you find out about it?
Sure. I read about it in a book by Winona LaDuke called Last Standing Woman, and she has a fictional chapter in the book called The Knights of the Forest. But at the beginning of the chapter, there's a quote from a newspaper article in Mankato, and the quote from the newspaper is a real quote. And that got me thinking that these men were actually real. And so when I was in graduate school to get my history degree, I still decided to look into them for a research project, and I ended up finding out a lot about them.
When I first had you on the show,
a friend of mine, Barry Hand, forwarded me your thesis, and it was amazing. And we've been talking for a while, and then you got published by the Minnesota Historical Society. And so we've kind of gone on this trek together, and it's really exciting to see your book come to fruition. And what kind of feedback have you had? It's been out a little bit. It's published this year, but you've been on a speaking tour, and I want to ask too how people can get a hold of you. But what have you been hearing about?
Oh, the many Minnesotans are finally becoming aware that Ho-Chunk people are from Minnesota, and they're still here. They've always been here. This is just a really unknown part of history, and so I get a lot of shocked reactions usually. Just the fact that there was a secret society that was so similar to the Ku Klux Klan right here in Minnesota before the KKK even existed. I speak to history classes in Mankato. I've been doing a lot of book tours around the area, and the feedback I get from most Ho-Chunk people is they're really happy that this is being recognized by the Historical Society. This is published by the Historical Society Press, and that means institutional recognition for their history here in the state. And beyond that, all the rest of Minnesotans are learning this new aspect of history, not only of Minnesota, but of the Dakota War. We just had 150th anniversary of the state and the war, and there was a lot of ceremonies and reconciliation ceremonies and processes that happened, and the Ho-Chunk people were really forgotten during all of that. And so we're hoping to get a lot more awareness out there for the next anniversary.
So what's interesting too is that you have gotten some support from like Bill Quackenbush and Amy Lone Tree. Talk about how important that was to write this book.
Yeah, so when I was writing the thesis, it was in graduate school, and it was really more of a paper. And I was overly focused on finding these men in the society. I wanted to know if there was any more men. There were chapters throughout the county, so I was looking for other men throughout the county in different chapters. If I could find concrete evidence of violence or any, their activities during the winter. I didn't find a whole lot, but I did find enough to write the paper. But when it became time to publish the book, I really knew I needed to do a lot more consultation with Ho-Chunk people. And that Amy Lone Tree is really the main historian for Ho-Chunk history, and I really leaned on her work, and I really look up to her work. She's the most amazing historian. And I also reached out to people in Omaha and people in Wisconsin, and Bill Quackenbush is the tribal historic officer, and he read my manuscript. He helped me with the spelling of some of the leadership names. I heard from many different Ho-Chunk people that they sent the manuscript around to. I got feedback on leaders that they'd like to see and leaders that I was overly emphasizing. So the nature between the paper and the book, some of the things that changed were mostly the Ho-Chunk history part. I really needed to do a better job at telling that history. Being a white person, I didn't want to be an authority on Ho-Chunk history or present myself as a Ho-Chunk historian, but there's a sense that the history of Ho-Chunk people really needs to be told to understand what happened to them in Mankato in 1862.
So you're a big-time researcher, so this is all research. This isn't like your opinion and you're trying to be give your opinion. This is all research.
Right. I've just had a review come out this week saying it was one of the most solidly pieces of scholarship they had ever read. They're recommending it to universities. There's universities buying it for their classes. I had a whole team checking my citations and my facts. This is definitely a big piece of research for me. I spent many hours at the microfilm machine reading letters between the agents and Washington and Henry Sibley and Alexander Ramsey. And if anyone's read any handwriting from 1862 politicians, they know that takes a long time.
That is crazy. They had a little different writing. That's amazing to research. So again, you're getting a lot of feedback from people that really didn't know this history, and so it's exciting. There's properties down in Mankato, and we always, as Native people, it's a couple different meetings to talk about land back, but wow, some land back down there, because as the crops were coming in is kind of when we were removed.
That's right. And when the Ho-Chunk people were removed from Minnesota, there was no negotiations, there was no treaties. Unlike most of the removals for most tribal nations, they were ordered to leave by an act of Congress. They were just forced off their land, and the settler colonists just moved right onto the reservation and started taking their crops and finished out the summer in all of their crops. It was really one of the most egregious cases of land theft that happened in the United States. And land back is certainly relevant to the Ho-Chunk people here in Minnesota, especially when it comes to Mankato. There's lots of public property owned by the county and by the state right in Blue Earth County area.
Yeah, that's interesting. We got a minute left here. How can people get a hold of you, and how can people get a hold of your book?
Sure. I am a librarian at the University of Minnesota, and so you can contact me there. My email is coats036@umn.edu. And you can get my book on Amazon or at the Minnesota Historical Society Press website or any bookstore nearby.
Or here today at Native Roots Trading Post at the State Fair. We have only 15 copies left, so come on and get them while they're getting's good.
Yeah, come on out.
All right, thank you so much, Cathy. Really great information, and really it was great. It's great to meet you and have a great ally like you in the community. And I want to just say a big Peeny Gigi again.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thank you.
Hey, we'll be back. This is Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake, and we're still here. We are the 7th generation. See you tomorrow.